Hello. All right. So my article that I chose was Buncheong, Unconventional Beauty of Korean Buncheong Ceramics by Seung-Chang. So my author, Seung-Chang, is the chief curator of the Liam Samsung Museum of Art in Seoul, South Korea. And he conducts research on the Joseon Dynasty period of Korean pottery. And he got his PhD from Hongik University in Seoul. So the main points of this article that Jeon discusses are the various aspects of Buncheong ware, which Buncheong ware is a type of Korean stoneware that began to flourish in the 15th century, and it's usually a brownish greenish color that is decorated in various styles and techniques, including slip, inlay, and sometimes iron glaze. Jeon examines its various styles through examining the origins of Buncheong and examining its development at the beginning of the Joseon period, and also examining its relationship with metalware and porcelain. So for the methodology that Jeon uses is he examines the circumstances of Buncheong's development at the end of the Goryeo period and at the transition to the Joseon period. During this time, there was a lot of innovation happening in ceramics. So another big factor in early influences on Buncheong style at the beginning of the Joseon period was government involvement with ceramics, which I'll further explain that later on. But Jeon also explains ties between porcelain and Buncheong, which has an influence on the Buncheong style. So all of these themes relate to Jeon's main theme, which is the diversity of styles and techniques of Buncheong ware. He further explains this diversity, talking about changes in the Buncheong from the 15th to the 16th century, as well as regional differences, which he shows through examining kilns. So before I go further into depth with some of these themes, I'd like to talk about some terminology. So of course, Buncheong, which refers to Korean stoneware from the 15th and 16th century. And then there's also Buncheong Hocheong Sagi, which Jeon describes as stoneware from the early Joseon period that is similar to celadon and porcelain in terms of shape, decoration, and glaze, but has distinct characteristics. Sagi also means stoneware. So surface is partially or entirely covered with white slip, and it has a green gray color for Buncheong ware typically. So mabayongs refer to Korean vessels shaped like the vessels you see on the screen. They have their small, slightly curved mouth rim, and their very short neck, and their very round shoulders, and then the constricted waist. So some examples of early Buncheong ware are mabayongs. And this is a picture of a Buncheong mabayong. So another terminology word for this article was the Annals of Taejong, which were restrictions placed on the production of metalware, which affected Buncheong ware and the styles that were produced. Then there are also different terms and techniques of Buncheong, such as inlay, which is a decorative technique where A pattern is carved and then inlaid with like a different material in the grooves. And there's also incising, which is just carving into the clay. And then there's sgraffito, which is kind of scraping through the surface to reveal a lower layer of contrasting color. So Jeon begins the article talking about the transition from the Goryeo period to the Joseon period. Um, so this was definitely a period of innovation for ceramics. And as Jeon states, Buncheong ware embodies both the sophisticated tastes of the Joseon court and the scholarly elite, and also the wit and candor of the common people, as he states. So this transition is also shown in these two images as well, because there is an image of a mabayang from the Goryeo and a mabayang Buncheong from the 15th century. So these are very, very similar techniques, and Buncheong has its roots in Celadon, as the mabayang on the left is a Celadon mabayang. So as far as the relationship between the government and Buncheong production, this had a major impact on the way metalware related to ceramics, because the state had to respond to China's demand for metal products. And as I mentioned, there was the Annals of Taichung. So that was the state's response to China's demand for tribute in metalware. So the state was trying to reduce the use of gold and silver objects by the court and upper class. And the government supervised Buncheong kilns to make up for a lack of metalware available. So the Annals of Taichung states that instead of metalware, every person in the nation must use ceramics or lacquerware. And so there were these restrictions placed on metalware. And metalware provided a model for Buncheong. And as you can see in this image, the Buncheong ware cup imitates the bronze cup with the ear handles. And in this way, there could be a reference to the rarity of metalware at the time. So in the mid 1400s, there was a decrease for demand for Buncheong. And this caused a quality decline after the government was no longer supervising its production. So that meant there was no more pressure to substitute metalware anymore. So that changed the way Buncheong kilns worked. And the kilns began to be used for production of everyday items instead. And because of this, Buncheong began catering to local consumers more. So with that, there were more new techniques and designs that began to be used, such as sgraffito and iron painting and stamping. So Buncheong also adopted this very idiosyncratic aesthetic. And you can see that sort of aesthetic with the designs that are shown on the image of the incised Buncheong pot in this slide. So as far as the relationship with Buncheong in porcelain, in the 16th century, Buncheong was common, while porcelain was used by elites. And there were techniques used to imitate porcelain, such as slip dipping. And slip brushing was also common in Buncheong ware. And so here you can see examples of both slip dipping and slip brushing. So there were also changes in slip techniques from the 15th to 16th century. In the 15th century, while the government supervised production, slip inlay was popular, so that meant that slip could be painted into the grooves. But that changed the in the 16th century. Um, and they changed it so that slip was applied as a base and then designs would be carved over the top of that. So that allowed for a lot more like freedom of expression, um, and like designs could be very loose freehand lines, as you can see in this previous image. With this design here, it's very loose, not super symmetrical. So what I liked about Jeon's article is that it had very clear descriptions of variation and style of Buncheong wear, as well as detailed descriptions of history and the political and social context. And I found it very helpful that he used an abundance of image examples, many of which I showed in my presentation. One thing that was a little bit difficult was that the definition of buncheong was a little unclear, and in the article, Jeon kind of skirts around the definition of it and like causes the reader to have to sort of piece everything together. But other than that, I found it to be very helpful and a pretty easy read. So that's all I have, and here is my bibliography. Thank you.